Hi everybody, Adam here. Welcome back to our Lego room. Excited today to show you guys some updates on what we've been doing with our storage and organization system here in the Lego room, primarily with our Acro Mills storage containers that we have looping around the wall here. Super happy with how they've been working out. Been making a few changes that I think should prove useful and make it all a little easier for me to access and find what I need. But also, I've got a couple other new storage containers that I've been using to sort and store parts. So we'll take a close look at that. And we've got a number of Bricklink orders in place that should hopefully be coming in over the next week or so. So we'll talk through some of the things that I've ordered in, some of which are for specific builds, but also some which are going to help us fill in some gaps that we have in the Acro Mills containers, help us flesh out a few areas. So lots of cool stuff to cover. Let's jump in and get started. So in total, we have 59 of the Acro Mills containers. It's a lot, and yet it's funny, at times it doesn't feel like hardly anything as you're going through and sorting out Lego bricks. In the plate and brick sections, which make up most of what you see here, there's a bit of tile mixed in there as well now. But that's the section where I primarily sort by both part and color. I just find it makes it a lot easier for common parts that I'm going and digging through to have them split out by color as well. Easier to find things, know exactly what I have or what I need to be ordering in to fill gaps in our collection. And then when you get to the smaller Acro Mills drawers over here, we get into a lot of the Technic pieces and other miscellaneous Lego parts, and those typically are not sorted by color. All the different colors for a particular part are in the drawer together. Now, if we come over here and take a closer look at some of these drawers, you can see that we start over here with plate. So 1x plate, so you can see 1x2s over in the corner here, and those run all the way down, different colors in different drawers. Lots of different parts or lots of different colors, I guess, for that particular part. So we have a lot of drawers dedicated to that. We do switch over down here to 1x3s. So I find that super effective. An example of, where I think color sorting really makes a lot of sense. It takes up a lot more space, but I'm regularly having to use 1x2s that are, dark blue gray for some of the mills and ballast work that we're doing around the layout. I need to use the light blue gray and the reds in some of the different train locomotive builds that we're working on. There's a lot of different times and places where some of these parts come into use, and it's nice to have them, easily accessible here. Frequently I come, to parts that I need in builds where it's like, okay, this doesn't need to be any particular color. So it's nice to come over here and be like, okay, what's the cheapest color that I have? Maybe I'm going to use some of the really light blues that are easier to get in some of the classic Lego sets to, to fill in those, anything goes spots in a model, usually on the interior of a model. And then I can save the sort of higher value, more important parts for the exterior details and the spots where color really matters. Now, in going through here, one thing that I noticed, 1x5s are a relatively new part, and we don't actually have a space. We don't have any 1x5s in our Acro Mill drawers here. So we go from 1.4 coming down here into 1/6. So I've got a number of 1x5 plates that are on order. I'm going to be making a section here where we can put them into the drawers and have them available on the wall here, which will be super helpful as they come up as a need in upcoming builds. But it'll also really help me sort of fill a gap. I like to make sure that preemptively I have as many different parts and colors available here on the wall so that when a need comes up for a particular build, I can just go over here, grab what I need. No delays, you know, we're trying to minimize delays with finding the pieces I need. Now, one thing you'll notice here, we start at 1x2s in the corner there. And you might be saying, where are 1x1s? Well, they are over here on the smaller drawer side. They go vertically down this first column. And the reason I put them over here, they're just a smaller part. I didn't need to have the large drawer size. Basically, a large drawer over here is the equivalent of 2 of the smaller drawers on this side over here. So just space effective to have the 1x1s over here. What I am adding in now, which is one of the changes that I mentioned earlier, we have 1x1 rounds now in the second column here. This is another part that comes up fairly frequently. We've got lots of different colors of that particular part. So I think it's going to be quite useful to have that over here and to have it all split out by color. I'm looking at continuing that sort of small part, small but frequently used and important part system going over here. We've currently got, I think that is the tile. I think that's the quarter circle tile up there, but I'm going to be putting the circular tile and some of the other parts like that here. So we will spread this out to fit all the different ones that we want, which will mean that some of the parts that we have down here, various bars and hemispheres, domes, etc. in this particular section, and down into some different sloped pieces down below. But that means those are going to move out of the way here so that we can go sort of wide in terms of the drawers allocated to some of these parts. In this case, the 1x1s for the square and round pieces, and then some of the tiles. We can do that because we actually have mostly empty drawers on this top section up here. There's a couple things where I've been putting pieces in just to keep them separate for the time being, but I'm going to take a bunch of these things down here. We'll move them up there to give us the space we need to expand out this area. And I think that's going to lead to some pretty nice gains and, you know, make these parts a lot easier to access. I know that since moving the 1x1s out here, into their separate containers, it's been a lot easier to access those. The black, light blue gray, dark blue gray, those have been a lot of the sort of commonly used ones that I've been picking out of that column so far, but really happy with where we're heading there, and I think that's going to be a useful change. Now back to the end wall here and continuing to move across. So we've got our 1x plates over here. We move into the 2x plates. So you can see 2x4, 2x10, again with different colors underneath them. So those represent roughly four columns of drawers there. And then we start to move into the bricks. So we've got our 1x1 bricks, 1x2, 1x3, etc. Lots of different colors here. And we continue with the 1x's all the way over to the midsection over here where we start to get into the 2x2s, 2x3s, 2x4s. So, you can see here a lot of colors. These pieces here are represented in a lot of different colors. There's some cases where I can't fit all the colors into the stack. And then, for now, those things stay out in bins or in Ziploc bags. We may add some more Acro Mills containers to the wall here to help fill some of those, or to allow for more colors to be represented. But for now, I just keep the most used colors up on the wall. And if there's overflow, that goes into Ziploc bags or other containers that I can access from, slightly deeper storage when the need arises. So that works out really well for the standard brick and plate pieces that we use in our builds. If we round the corner here and we start going into this stack, you'll see that I've got some other types of bricks over here. We've been putting the masonry bricks, the corner bricks. We've got more masonry down here. It was 1x2s up above. This is 1x4s. We have, what else have we got? We've got the, the stud bricks that have the studs on the side. We've got some of the grill, or can't think of the is the name. It's going to come to me afterwards. It's just eluding me at the moment. But the bricks that have the, I'm not going to focus on that well. There we go. That have the sort of vented, sort of extra bit of texture on the front. The name for that is eluding me at the moment, but we have those there. Lots of different sort of modified types of brick parts represented there. The next change that I've been working in, though, around this is getting our tile pieces. So 1x2s, 1x4s, 1x6s, 1x8s, getting those into the stacks over here and starting to break those out by color. Up until this point, we have had those all together actually in the small Acro Mills containers. So you just end up with a small one that would have a bunch of different colors for a particular tile piece all lumped into one container. And for a number of reasons, that's not very effective and difficult. I care a lot about tile color, it turns out, in a lot of the builds that we do. So having it split out is super important. And we have a lot of those parts as well. So they never really fit well in the smaller Acro Mills drawers. We always had extra out in other containers or in the Ziploc bags. So I think breaking them out here in columns over on this side is going to be super useful. It does mean that we're probably going to need to make some changes to how the modified bricks are all laid out over here, and how some of the other parts are set up in this stack of Acro Mills drawers here. We've got a mix match of parts down here. There's some GBC related things. There's some train parts and accessories in here as well. A lot of different things, but I think we can tidy that up, condense some of that to give us an easier way to access the tile pieces. So looking forward to that. Already pretty happy, as I've only got 7 drawers in there with tiles so far, but really liking the way that it is laid out. And as I've come across some additional parts to put in there, it was super quick and easy to come over and know where they needed to go, whether it be a new drawer going into the column or filling up stuff in one of the existing drawers. So I I think this is going to be another one of those changes that's going to be super useful and really help us when it comes to speeding up and making it easier to find parts and access things when we are working on various projects. Now, that's probably a good segue point to take a quick look at some of the orders we are placing and the parts that we're expecting to have into the Lego room over the next week or so. Now, one of the things that I like to do when I'm working on projects for an upcoming train show, as I am right now, and when I'm ordering a lot of different parts into the Lego room, I like to keep a list of the different projects that I'm expecting to be able to work on with parts that are coming in, just to give me, something to refer to and remind myself of, what's coming in and why. So you can see here, we are going to be working on a large number of sunflowers. If you watched our video from BSBT 2025, the train show we went to over in Leipzig, Germany, there were some amazing sunflowers around wind turbines there in one of the modules. And we're going to be looking to recreate something like that in our layout here. And with that, we're going to be also building the yellow station. It's a Japaz build that I've been wanting to put together for a while. That's going to be coming together, and both of those are going to be used in an upcoming show that we are going to. With that, we've also got a couple of additional log cars. You might recall the skeleton log car that we built last year. And we're going to build a couple more of those to take to the show. We're going to be building the first version of the Brick Train Depot stock car and Trinity tank car. Really excited to get those built and see how they perform and get them in action both here around the layout and out at the show. With that, we're also going to be building the advanced wood-sided reefer and the advanced box car from their instruction sets. I've been wanting to build the maintenance of way vehicles for a while now. Those parts are coming in. And we're also going to be building the big modern coal tower. It's another Japaz instruction set, one that I've been wanting to do for a while. And I think it's going to look really cool, both out at the show and here around the layout. In terms of miscellaneous parts that I'm picking up, I am continuing to bring in a lot of 1x2 dark blue-gray plate, as well as 1x4 and 1x8s. Those are used for all of the different track ballast and sort of, prettying up of track that we put onto Mills modules. And as you guys know, we are working on a ton of Mills modules at the moment for the lower layout. We've got the corner modules, the T-junctions, a lot of straightaways, so lots of parts coming in for that. For that as well, we've also got a number of 2x2 dark blue-gray tiles coming in. I've been kind of looking at it for a while, but our lift out bridges, we have the panels on the sides of those. They're a bit of a mix match at the moment of different colors and types of panels. So I've got a couple of really big orders of different panels, basically two different types of panels. We've got a nice sand blue gray panel that's coming in. I think we got like 180 of them. And then we have some nice brown nougat colored panels that are coming in as well. So looking forward to those arriving and being able to make use of those. With that, a whole bunch more 2x2 and 2x4 bricks for use in Mills modules. And like I said, to fill some gaps over there, we're bringing in a bunch of 1x5 plate, which we currently don't have any in our drawer system up there. I know that we likely do in some of our MISC parts that need to be sorted out, but not likely in any great quantities. So it'll be great to add those to the wall. And then 1x10 plate and 2x6 plate were two gaps that I identified over there of, did I say two? Yeah, 1x10 and 2x6 plate. So those were gaps that I identified over in our drawer system over there. That's one of the nice things about being able to just go down the drawers there. You can see where things look a little sparse or a little empty and work on filling that out. So trying to be proactive and get ahead of parts there that I might need for upcoming builds. And the list continues on. We've got a nice big water tower that we're building, another Japaz model, the vinegar factory. We've got some parts for a great center beam car, a well car. And as I've mentioned, we've got 3 or 4 locomotives that we've got the parts for that are in progress. So I'm working on getting things sort of sorted and organized so we can continue to make progress on those builds as well. But ideally, everything on here, I'm hoping to really push through aggressively as we head up to the train show we're displaying at. I'd like to have a lot of these buildings and landscaping elements ready to go for that show. And, like I said, also trying to continue to bring along the lower layout there and get the Mills modules in place for as much of that as quickly as we can. Would really like it if we were heading into the fall and towards Christmas with most of that laid out on Mills there and in terms of the track, and then just adding over time buildings and various other modules around the track as we were, build various structures and the like to put around all of that track. So it's a ton of parts, lots and lots of stuff coming in, lots of building ahead, which is very exciting. But that really does lead to why I'm trying to get our Acro-Mils containers as up to date as possible. The more things end up in there, the easier it is for us to find and access as we're going through all of these different builds. Whereas if things are out in, a jumble of bins and containers, or, just out in stacks of containers around the room, it's much harder to know exactly what we have or where to look for particular parts. And as an example, you can see up along the top of the Acro-Mils containers here, lots of different parts. And I've been putting things up here as I try to get them together, organize them. And I'm making a big push as we speak. A lot of stuff moved into the Acro-Mils containers today, but I've been going through the various parts that we have out in containers right now, both up here. We've got some that have been down around the table edge and up underneath the bins down there, trying to get things up and into the proper place as much as possible, clearing up as much of our table surface as we can. Really want to make a big push here to get that all sorted out as much as possible, because like I said, it makes it a lot easier to work on things when you know where all the parts are located. And, it continues onto our shelf over here. I've been thinning this out today. Really nice to start to see that disappearing. And with more space, as that gets cleared up, we can spend some time fixing up some of these trains as well. And, trying to just get pockets of parts all around the room sorted out and available so that we can have a really sort of productive few weeks here as we head into the fall and make it easier to find things as we work through this large number of projects that are coming up, which is always exciting. It's great to have lots of different projects. It's cool to get different parts in, but it's very easy to get swamped and overwhelmed if things aren't organized properly. So want to make sure that we don't lose track of anything and that we can spend as much time building as possible rather than searching for parts or waiting for extra parts to get ordered in because we, lost track of something or, couldn't find a particular type of piece that we needed for a build. Now, continuing on the subject of organization and sorting, wanted to show you guys these great Anvil storage containers that I picked up at Home Depot and that I've been trying around the room to store some of our parts and various accessories. So you can see the containers over here I'm using for storing a number of our Brick Mini figures and various accessories. Really love the fact that these particular containers are see-through, really easy to see inside, find the specific types of figures or parts that I'm looking for, and then be able to access them. And I always talk about the latch systems on boxes like this. Really positive latch here. They close really nicely, easy to open and close, but nice to have that solid closure so things aren't going to come falling out or accidentally open up when you're picking something up or moving it somewhere around the room. Also love the fact that it has these sort of customizable drawer areas. You can make these drawers as big or as small as you want along the sort of side-to-side axis here by lifting these little dividers in and out, which is really cool. It let me really customize the way I had these bins laid out, but really happy with these ones. You can see they work really well for all the Brick Mini figures that we have. Lots of different types based on color and type of character. So easy to see, easy to find, and I can sort of rest easy when I'm carrying them around the room or moving them from one spot to another because of the very positive clutch of the latch system on them here. And then over here, we've got a slight variation. These are a little bit more like some of the other containers that I use for like storing landscaping elements, but these are some really nice containers with a lot of slots that I'm using for storing currently a lot of the mosaic pieces, sort of leftovers that we have from the various wall art mosaic sets that we build. And, really easy again to see through the top here to see which container you want to go into for various parts. Keeps things really nice and separated, which is great when it comes to these particular parts. They are it's easy with these mosaic parts to get things mixed up or to have things, flying all over the place. If you happen to drop something or you're trying to lift a bunch of things, move stuff around. So happy with this here. I'm not sure if they're long-term going to stay in here or whether it might be better to get them into the Acro Mills wall. But this felt like an easier way to store and access this particular style of part. And, that's why we have our landscaping elements for the most part out in separate storage containers. There's just some things that you want to be able to carry around, move to different rooms or different areas around the house or out of the house to shows. And you want to have a specific subset of brick, available to you for customizing or doing sort of more on the spot work. So, when it comes to the landscaping elements, I love being able to move those containers to, the upstairs table or a build table over in my office so that I can create a bunch of trees on the fly and have all the parts necessary for those trees in those containers. If I wanted to, I could take them out to a show and build some trees out at a show. So similar idea here. I think this is a great way to have mosaic pieces, nicely sorted out, easily accessible. And then I could see, carrying this to wherever you're going to work on a particular mosaic, and you've got everything you can just call on from these particular containers. And again, a great latching system on here. Something that I can open with one hand, but I'm not worried about it. Oh, we got the side locks on it too, so an extra little bit of safety to make sure that things don't open up. But easy to open with one hand, but you've got the safety and sort of reliability to know that it's not going to accidentally come flying open when you are moving it around, or when it is if it happens to be on a table or something somewhere and you've got it closed, but it falls over, you don't have to worry about it accidentally opening up, or tipping and getting things mixed across the different drawers in here. So a little harder to close with one hand. I'm gonna have to put the camera down after to get these latches fully closed, but at least you can open it up one-handed and really easy to access what's inside. So like I said, these Anvil containers, pick them up at Home Depot. I'm sure there are other places that sell containers like this, but highly recommend checking them out. I've been happy with them so far, and we'll likely pick up a few more in the coming months as we continue to find different things that need to be stored and easily accessible around the Lego room. Now, also wanted just to highlight, this is in my office space here. As I'm going through and doing this part sorting, this is a great example of a spot that I want to get all tidied up, make it much easier to find and use the parts that we have for various builds that are ongoing. This has become a bit chaotic here because there's a number of different builds that are represented by the parts over here. So looking forward to continuing to tidy this up so that we can easily finish the locomotives, well car off. We've got Mario in the main room, which is very close to being finished, but we need to get the last few parts found and moving along so that we can finish the upper part of that build. So keep an eye out. I'll be highlighting this space in upcoming videos as we hopefully showcase the improvements that are happening around the Lego room as everything gets really sorted and organized in a way that makes it much easier to find stuff and try to get things back to a place where it's sort of, maximum ease of finding parts and accessing things that we need at a given moment for the builds we're working on. So, overall, there's a lot of things to be built, a lot of things to be organized, but really excited about the projects that are upcoming and how things are coming together. We've got a lot of 4x8 plates here. We've been putting together Mills modules, and we'll continue to push through those and hopefully get most of the lower level Mills modules ready to go as we discussed in a recent video. We'll also be working some more on buildings around the layout, whether it be in the city or some of the industrial things that we've talked about or things for the rail yard. So lots of cool projects. We have a ton of parts that need to be sorted out as well. Just misc parts that will eventually make their way back into the Acro Mills wall over there. So lots of stuff ahead, but hopefully that gives you guys a bit of insight into how we're currently sorting things, how I'm adapting my system over there with the Acro Mills containers, and gives you an early look at some of the projects that you'll see in videos really over the next few weeks. There's a lot of stuff that we're going to be aggressively building and filming and working on. So, really excited, and we will keep you guys up to date as we work through all of that sorting, the different organization things. I'm sure there's going to be some continued change over in the Acro Mills system as we continue to utilize that, and lots of Bricklink orders coming in that you guys will get to check out as well. So a fun time. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please make sure to do so that you don't miss out on any of those upcoming videos. And if you've got thoughts on, things that we could try for our sorting and organization system, would love to hear that. If you've got some interesting ways that you sort and organize your parts, would be cool to hear about that as well down in the comments. So feel free to leave some messages there and let us know your thoughts. And I think that's it for this video. Thank you guys very much for watching, and we will see you again soon. Take care. Bye.